Representative Hatton.
Mr. Chairman, if we're going to, I presume, based on the arguments I've heard Representative Bentley make on the floor, that this will be another testimony that is against the bill. And I wonder if we'll have any opportunity, since they already had more time to go against the bill than we had originally, to have additional witnesses. I know there are some in the audience.
We'll take that under advisement. Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I come today starting out with the Constitution. Section 1(3) says that we're here to provide safety and happiness for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So my talk this morning is scientific for the safety of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The first thing is that the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine did a review of 24,000 abstracts on January 12th of 17. They considered, of those 24,000, 10,000 abstracts. That wasn't a clinical study. That was a review of abstracts. They gave 5 levels of decision on these abstracts. 1 would be conclusive, 2nd substantial, 3rd moderate, 4th limited, and 5th insufficient after they would read the abstract. These 3 that I'm giving you here on therapeutics is the public release from that National Academy. The first one says adults with chemotherapy induced nausea and vomiting that marijuana or cannabinoids or cannabis are effective as antiemetics, which means they reduce vomiting. We know that because we've used Marinol for several years. In adults with chronic pain, patients who were treated with cannabis were more likely to experience a clinically significant reduction in pain symptoms. 3rd, in adults with MS or multiple sclerosis related spasticity, short-term use of oral cannabinoids improves patient-reported spasticity symptoms. Those were spoke of 2 days ago. But there's another paragraph on that public release, and it says this: for these conditions, the effects of cannabinoids are modest. For all other conditions evaluated, there is inadequate information to access their effects. So I wanted that complete public information out there for safety of the Commonwealth. Second, I want to introduce you to a new thought. It's called pharmacokinetics. Pharmacokinetics is a term that means administration, distribution, elimination or excretion, and metabolism of a drug. Drug reactions or interactions have not been talked about in the last 2 days. The metabolism of cannabis involves an enzyme in the liver. When you eat anything, that blood goes to your liver to filter. And these enzymes are based upon heme. So when a drug goes to your liver, the liver either works on the electrons of it or adds something to it, so basically you can urinate it out of the body. And these are called the cytochrome P450 system. Currently, in the publication of Drug Metabolism in 2014, they found out that cannabis involved the cytochrome P450 enzymes, or specifically 3A4, 2D9, and 2C19. And by the way, everything I tell you today is well documented, and I can give you the documentation after I talk. CBD oil is thought to be an inhibitor of cytochrome 3A4, cytochrome 2D6. It makes CBD oil good but not benign. Well, let me give you an explanation real quick because you're only giving me 5 minutes. If that door back there was the enzyme metabolizing the drug, and we all wanted to get through it at one time, we all wouldn't go through that door at one time. There would be a backload here. So if you have 2 properties trying to get through that door, that enzyme, there has to be a backload. Now, the drug interactions of cytochrome P450 with cannabis, the first one, it's well documented, is with Coumadin. Well, most people know Coumadin is warfarin or rat poison. So if it's an inhibitor of cytochrome P450, you might see a drug interaction, possibly a pink eye or bleeding through the urine or hemorrhage. Other things are cyclosporine, an anti-immunity drug sometimes given to people with kidney transplants, a drug interaction. calcium channel blockers, Haldol, which we all know that has so much adverse effects, we've all read about it, and Lipitor, which much of us take for cholesterol, Zoclor, and also benzodiazepines. Even when you're given CBD oil, you have to be cautious because some children need a product for epilepsy, and it's made by Lundic. It's called ONFI. If we give the two together, we see this drug interaction. So we always have to consult the doctor and patient to see if they're using marijuana. So drug interactions are one thing that we hadn't talked about before, and I want to make sure that people understood that. But that's called the cytochrome P450 system, and that's how we get rid of products through the liver, either by adding, conjugating something to it, or working on the electrons to get it out of the body. The third thing I wanted to talk to you about was a docket. It's docket number, DEA number 426. The date is July 19, 2016. The petition was to see if marijuana could be moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. Based on the HHS evaluation and all the relevant data, the DEA has concluded there is no substantial evidence that marijuana should be removed from Schedule 1. Some people said, why can't we put it in Schedule 2? Because it's never been approved for any effective use by the FDA, so it couldn't be put in Schedule 2. Since it could be put in Schedule 2, it has to stay as Schedule 1, even in international treaties, such as the Single Convention. So that was the first thing. Also, the Controlled Substance Act, they went through it, points of interest. Marijuana has a high potential for abuse. The HHS evaluation and additional data gathered by the DEA show that marijuana has a high potential for abuse. 2, marijuana has no currently accepted medical use and treatment in the United States. Now, this is based on the established 5-part test for making determination that marijuana has no currently accepted medical use. When the DEA looks at a new drug through a new drug application, they put it through 5 questions to see if it has a currently accepted medical use. They want to know if the drug's chemistry must be known, and it must be able to reproduce it. So if you can reproduce it, you can standardize a dose for the population of the United States. 2, there must be adequate safety studies, safety and efficacy. I've talked about safety with the sulfanilamide. I've talked about efficacy with thalidomide and those tragic things that happen. I have pictures of flipper babies here with me, but I won't show them. 10,000 people around the world on thalidomide had teratogenic effects because it wasn't tested for effectiveness. 3, there must be adequate and well-controlled studies proving efficacy. 4, the drug must be accepted by qualified experts. 5, the scientific evidence must be widely available. Marijuana does not meet any of the 5 elements necessary for a drug to have a currently accepted medical use, according to the DEA and the HHS. And 3rd, marijuana lacks accepted safety for use under medical supervision. I know you've only given me 5 minutes. I teach a college class and I can lecture for 8 hours. So I'm welcome to any questions.
Thank you, Representative Birch.
Does 29 legislatures across this country has already approved this to be used either recreational or medically or otherwise. Why would Kentucky be any different? It's like we do our gambling bills and other things. We're going to save somebody's by prohibiting this, yet it's going on all around us. What kind of data have you got that it's really hurt anybody? Because I would suspect there's probably some members of this panel that may have experimented with marijuana, and surely not. I know, but I didn't because I never was able to smoke. My mom wouldn't let me. But I mean, are these 29 legislators all crazy, and we're the only smart ones? That's my question.
Well, I think I'm using reason. I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States and an oath to the Constitution of Kentucky. The Constitution of the United States says life lived in pursuit of happiness. Kentuckians took it a little further. Number 3 says safety and happiness. So throughout mankind, from 1848 with the Mexican War, there were adulterated and misbranded drugs that went to the soldiers in Mexico. They suffered. So in the early part of the 19th century, we passed the Federal Drug and Cosmetic Act and the Harrison Narcotic Act to protect our people. We asked that there be safety because sulfanilamide was included in a product with ethylene glycol. The definition was an elixir. Elixir meant it should have been mixed with alcohol. So it was mixed with antifreeze, typically, ethylene glycol. And then the thalidomide, or the flipper babies, worldwide, used for nausea, showed that we had to test for efficacy. By those 2 standards, and by following my oaths to the 2 constitutions, I am here to protect the safety of the people of the Commonwealth.
Well,
and you ask about toxic effects of THC. THC, most people would say, well, there's no deaths from it. But if you give high doses of it, you'll see hallucinations, and you can see some, I have documented here, that there is some untoward side effects. There is marijuana disorder. There is marijuana withdrawal. The withdrawal is irritability, restlessness. I can tell you all about the pharmacokinetics if you want to know about that too. The half-life of the drug is 20 to 30 hours. It's deposited in the adipose of the body, and it's released over a long period of time. So if you take a urine test 2 weeks later, you'll probably show up positive for marijuana.
Representative, I do respect your knowledge because I think you're a pharmacist, aren't you? Background. I do respect that. The Constitution guarantees us the right to oppose unfair laws or laws that really don't work. That's in the Constitution, I think. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. But the fact that it, from what I know about it, Kentucky grows some of the best marijuana in the world. And nobody seems to be able to stop that. And, you know, prohibition caused the rise of the mafia. And the criminalizing some drugs has caused the rise of organized crime in this country today. And, you know, I just don't see sending somebody to jail for puffing a weed or something like that. And it's just, I think that you're beating a dead horse, and so are we by prohibiting it, continuing to prohibit it when we're going to be maybe the only state that don't allow it when it's over with. Thank you.
I think there's value to the product, but it has to go through safety and efficacy to guarantee the health of the people. It has potential. But the other reasoning is we need a consortium in this country to do the study. We need the federal government to do
the only thing that I can say Representative, is that I believe that the people are doing exactly what they want to do with this particular weed. And it's going to go all around us. We can sit here and knock it, but it's going to continue to go on. If we keep on, we're filling our prisons up with people that smoke a weed. This doesn't make sense to me. And, you know, to keep on prohibiting it, and we'll end up being the last state that probably approves it. I hope we approve it today, but we'll probably end up being the last state in the union to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Bentley. We will allow, we intend to take a vote on this at about 1 o'clock, but if the sponsor and others want a little rebuttal time to come forward to discuss this House Bill 1, there are a number of people who have signed up.
I think the sponsor is jumping back from committee to committee.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll hear from a group of people here: Mark Cowden, Nick Rislin, is Jaime here? You want to come up?
He's got more medals than I got when I was
And Representative Watkins, did you have a question for this panel or the sponsor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple real quick questions. But Appreciate the debate here. A few short years ago, I was totally opposed to any type of legalization of any type of marijuana, but I still am for recreational. But after listening to many people with some very serious health issues, including cancer and other extremely pain-causing problems, when they would explain their situation and inform me, would you rather I be addicted to painkillers, which I've been, or use something that's not addictive and a lot less expensive and doesn't create the problems. And if we look at last year, over 64,000 Americans died from an opioid overdose in this country. Couple of quick questions for you, if I could. If this bill passes, it would, for someone to legally purchase, they would have to have a valid prescription from a licensed physician. Is that correct?
They would have to have a certification from a licensed physician that has taken a credentialed course through the state.
Okay. And only certain qualifying illnesses could be certified for the use, correct?
Correct. The physician would have, or the practitioner would have to certify that that patient is suffering from that condition.
Okay. And there are limits on the quantity per each prescription certified to per patient, right?
Yes, sir. Per
Okay.
patient.
Do you have any documentation of anyone ever dying from a marijuana overdose or even being addicted?
The FDA has actually disproved that theory. They have data showing that in all of their research, they have never found a death attributed to cannabis. As a secondary source, there have been over 100, but what they see is that it has caused potentially some heart attacks in some patients, some arrhythmias.
Okay. Well, my biggest concern would be driving under the influence, but that's a problem right now and more a problem with alcohol. So, but at any rate, the police do have options and for arrest and prosecution for that. But anyway, thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of your?
No, sir. If I could, I would like to mention Representative Bentley talked about the National Academy of Sciences study, which was performed here in 2017. This study was done 18 years after the Institute of Medicine report in 1999. It's actually the same institution which has had their name rebranded 18 years later. So in 1999, they found that cannabis was effective in the treatment, again, of nausea and vomiting, treatment of multiple sclerosis and chronic pain. They concluded their research with saying that, yes, we found this, but we need more clinical trials. That was 18 years ago. In 2017, they found that it was effective for the treatment of nausea, vomiting, multiple sclerosis, and pain. They again finished their research. We need more clinical trials. How much longer is it going to be before we do those clinical trials? Because I believe, I'm not a researcher, but I believe a clinical trial itself takes 20 years or so, 10 years, 20 years. So is it going to be 30 years down the line before Kentucky passes a law that allows a patient to actually consume a plant that's never killed anybody? So with that said, right now, pharmaceutical companies, big agricultural companies, medical companies, and actually the inventor of methadone and the drug testing institution, or the drug testing policies, have developed patents on the use of cannabis in the treatment of multiple conditions. The federal government owns a patent on cannabis that says it is effective in the treatment of autoimmune disease and other conditions. It is helpful, according to the federal government, for my condition and many of the others that these patients are suffering from behind me. So the proof is there. The studies are being done, but not particularly the phase 3 trials, because the federal government is refusing to allow those. So what the federal government is allowing the states to do is to use their states' rights. And that's what we're asking for here. We're asking for Kentucky to use their states' rights and to protect our most vulnerable patients and give them safe access to a plant, give them the right to choose this God-given herb. With that, I'll close, and I'll let Representative Sims speak if he.
Representative Watkins has another
Oh,
question.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I failed to mention a while ago. All law enforcement is opposed to. My sheriff in McCracken County, John Hayden, more integrity than anyone I've ever met in my life, is very supportive of this bill. Just wanted to make mention of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any final points?
Chair, just thanks for bringing this House bill up for discussion, and the committee members for sitting through 3 days of it so far. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Chair will yield to Representative Nemes for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a good bill, but rather than vote on it and defeat it, I'm going to make a motion to pass over it because I want to work on it more with Representative Sims, in particular, sections dealing with to make sure that it doesn't go from medical use to recreational, that one in particular, and also some things that some of the law enforcement said yesterday. So I don't want to vote on this and vote it down. I'm going to make a motion to pass over it so we can continue to work on it and maybe do something more with it. So if that'd be okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to pass over the bill.
Motion is second to pass it over. Somebody call a roll call. 2 members calling for a roll call. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. The motion is to pass over this bill.
Representative Benvenuti?
Yes.
Representative Blanton?
Yes.
Representative Brown? Representative Birch?
Nope.
Representative Cantrell?
Mr. Chair, can I briefly explain my vote?
Certainly.
I'm going to vote no to pass over this today. We have heard a lot of discussion, more so than we've ever heard, and I think we're if we don't vote on this today, I think we're missing a great opportunity to help Kentuckians who are looking for a better solution for pain, for cancer, for other very debilitating and serious diseases. I've heard from a lot of them in my district. This is probably a top 5 issue, even with some of the struggles that our state is dealing with right now. And I really think we have the right bill and also all the evidence that we need to take a vote today. So I am voting no to pass over this.
Representative Elliott? Representative Hatton?
May I explain my vote, please?
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing the additional testimony. I do appreciate that, and I know that all these people that have traveled so far and come day after day also are very appreciative of that. I'm trusting that we will actually take this back up, and I'm putting my faith in the members of this committee that by agreeing to pass over, that does not end this matter. People are ready for a vote, and our state is ready for this. My constituents have begged for it, and we have 19 people dying per minute of opioid overdose when marijuana has never killed anyone. So I'm going to vote yes on the pass and putting my faith in my fellow members of this committee that we are not giving up on it.
Representative Hoover? Yes. Representative Jenkins? No. Representative Lee? Yes. Representative McCoy?
Yes.
Representative Morgan?
Yes.
Representative Mosier?
Yes.
Representative Nemes?
May I explain real quickly?
Yes.
I put my position on the record. I'm a yes on the issue. I'm almost a yes on this bill. I'm going to try to work on it and get to a yes on the bill. So I support my motion to pass over.
Representative Owens?
Let me explain my vote.
Certainly.
I'm going to vote not to pass over it. I think the gentleman asked, how long have we been hearing testimony in this? How long is it going to take? It's apparent to me that the type of information some people are looking for is not going to come in any time soon. If you have someone that's sick and needs this because they're throwing up or they have pain, there's no place for them to go. And I think that for those individuals, we need to do it now. I don't have a lot of faith that as a matter of fact, you know, I'm not running again, that any legislature soon will deal with this. We'll come up here and we'll spend 3 hours or 3 days hearing testimony, still would be unsure as to what we ought to do. I'm voting for those individuals who need this, required for them to have some quality of life. And in the absence of any testimony that anybody's died from it, that harms people, I think we need to step up and do the hard vote. And the hard vote now is to pass this bill.
Is that a no?
Yes.
Representative Petrie? Representative Reed?
Yes.
Representative Sinet?
It's a motion to pass over the bill.
Yes. Representative Watkins?
Explain my vote, please, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do support the legalization of marijuana, but I also agree this bill needs to be a little tightening up to make it more acceptable, and particularly in the 12-plant home growing operation for me. So I will vote to pass, yes to pass, and hope that we can do a little adjusting to it and bring it back at another time.
I vote yes.
Mr.
There's 14 yes votes to pass over the bill. It does, the effect of the passover retains jurisdiction in this committee, and we hope you all can work on it over the next few weeks. So I appreciate all your testimony. It's been an interesting discussion. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.